Let me tell you something that'll shift your world. What if I told you that there's a sentence so powerful, so deeply rooted in emotional truth, that no woman, not one, can resist it? I'm not talking about cheesy pickup lines or surface-level charm. I'm talking about unlocking a truth that touches the deepest parts of her heart. Most men speak to impress, but the rare ones speak to connect. And that connection, that's where the magic lies. If you're ready to go deeper to change how you show up, stay with me, because this will change everything. Most men walk into a conversation thinking they need to be perfect. They rehearse what to say, try to sound smart, smooth, or impressive. But let me tell you the truth. Perfection is a myth, and women don't crave perfection. They crave connection. Real, emotional, soul-stirring connection. You see, when a man tries to be perfect, he builds walls. He hides behind masks. He becomes a performer, not a partner. And women can feel that. They're wired to pick up on energy, authenticity, presence. So when you're faking, when you're overthinking, when you're rehearsing, you're not connecting, you're posturing. Real power comes when you stop trying to impress and start trying to connect. You want her attention, her trust, her affection. Then give her something rare. Be real. Be raw. Be grounded in your truth. Speak like someone who isn't performing but present. Look her in the eyes and let her feel that you're not thinking about what to say next. You're with her in this moment completely. That's where the connection begins. Now, here's the secret connection. Isn't about saying the right thing. It's about feeling the right thing. It's when your intention is clean, when you don't have an agenda to take, but a desire to understand. Women don't fall for words. They fall for emotional truth. And truth doesn't need polish, it needs presence. When a woman feels you're not trying to control her perception of you, she relaxes. She lets go of her guard because you've given her a signal that you're not here to prove, you're here to experience. That's rare. That's magnetic. The moment you stop needing to be perfect, you become powerful because then you're not distracted by yourself. You're able to tune into her. You listen, not just to respond, but to understand. You ask questions that come from curiosity, not from strategy. And here's the thing, when you lead with connection, your words don't have to be impressive, they just have to be true. If you feel a why, say it. You feel drawn to her energy, say it. If something about her inspires you, say it. Not in rehearsed way, but in a way that's alive in that moment. Women remember how you make them feel, not just what you say. If she feels seen, heard, safe, and inspired around you, you've already said more than any line ever could. When you bring emotional presence, you awaken something inside her that longs to be touched. That's what every woman wants. A man who sees beyond the surface, who doesn't talk at her, but to her. A man who doesn't run from the moment, but anchors her in it. And when you do that, when you step in with honesty and confidence, with care instead of calculation, she will feel it. Her nervous system will respond before her mind does. Because connection is a vibration, not a formula. And here's the kicker. It's not just about romantic connection. This principle transforms every relationship in your life, business, family, leadership, because people don't want perfect leaders, lovers, or friends. They want people who show up. So stop trying to polish yourself into someone you think you're supposed to be. Be someone who is so aligned, so present, so emotionally honest that she doesn't need to figure you out. She can feel you. That's when the resistance dissolves. That's when attraction flows. That's when the moment becomes unforgettable. This isn't about being nice or soft. It's about being powerful in a way most men have forgotten. True strength is not the absence of flaws. It's the courage to be transparent. And when you show up with your full self, not the curated version, but the grounded, real, emotionally intelligent man she's never seen before, she will feel it in her heart, her gut, her soul. That's the version of you no woman can resist. Not because you're perfect, but because you're true. So ask yourself, are you showing up to perform, or are you showing up to connect? Because the moment you choose connection over perfection, the game changes for her. And for you, if there's one thing that creates instant attraction, instant trust, and instant emotional pull, it's certainty. Not fake bravado, not arrogance. I'm talking about the unshakable energy that says, I know who I am, I know what I feel, and I stand in it fully. That's the kind of energy a woman can't ignore. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. The most ordinary sentence can become magnetic when it's delivered with certainty, and the most beautiful words fall flat when they're filled with hesitation, insecurity, or self-doubt. Certainty is masculine energy. It's direction. It's grounded presence, and it creates safety. A woman may be drawn to charm, to wit, to status, but what she craves at the deepest level is to feel safe enough to surrender. She wants to feel your steadiness so she doesn't have to carry the emotional weight of every moment. She wants to feel your depth so she can express her full range. She wants to feel that you're not easily shaken, by her emotions, by life, or by your own inner storms. Now, here's the truth most people miss. Certainty isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It's not about dominating a room or showing off. It's subtle. Quiet can't power. It's the look in your eye when you speak truth and don't flinch. It's the calm in your voice when everything around you feels uncertain. It's the steadiness of your breath when you're sharing something vulnerable, but you're not trying to hide it. That energy, that's irresistible. You don't need to memorize lines. You don't need to overthink your delivery. You need to get clear inside yourself. Because when you're clear, when you're convicted, when you believe in what you're saying, people feel it. She feels it. Women aren't just listening to your words. They're scanning for your energy. They're asking, can I trust this? Can I relax into this? Is this man in alignment with what he says? That's the test you pass. Not by being perfect, but by being certain in who you are and what you feel. And let me be blunt, uncertainty is repellent. When you hesitate, when you constantly seek validation, when your words and your tone are out of sync, it breaks the spell. A woman doesn't want to feel like she has to lead the energy. She wants to feel your direction. That doesn't mean controlling her. That doesn't mean overpowering her. It means leading with grounded intention. Saying, this is where I stand. This is what I feel. And I'm not apologizing for it. You see, most men fear rejection more than they value truth. They filter themselves to avoid discomfort. But the moment you edit your truth to be accepted, you lose your power. Certainty means you say what you feel, even when it's risky. You express what's real, even when it might not be received perfectly. And when a woman feels that you're willing to be real without needing approval, something inside her relaxes. She sees you as trustworthy. She sees you as emotionally mature. She sees you as rare. That's what creates attraction that goes beyond the surface. When you say something with full emotional ownership, when your words, your body, your breath, your tone all say, this is real. She responds to that. She may not even understand why, but she'll feel it. It bypasses her logic and lands in her nervous system. That's what certainty does. It moves beyond words and becomes presence. And let me say this. Certainty doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you don't let fear make your decisions. It means you breathe through the discomfort and speak anyway. It means you can be vulnerable without being shaky. You can be honest without being desperate. You can own your feelings without needing them to be approved. If you want to be unforgettable, be certain. If you want to be deeply attractive, be grounded in your truth. That's the edge that changes everything. Because when a woman meets a man who owns his energy, speaks with clarity, and isn't thrown off by emotion, she feels the rarest feeling of all trust. And when a woman trusts you, not because you manipulated her, not because you pretended to be someone you're not, but because you showed up in full certainty, grounded, focused, true, she will lean in. She will listen differently. She will feel something she can't explain. And that feeling, that's where connection, attraction, and depth begin. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be rich, famous, tall, or smooth. You need to be certain, your energy, in your expression, in your heart. Because once you have that, there's nothing more magnetic. Most men spend their energy trying to say what they think a woman wants to hear. They focus on compliments. Your hair is beautiful. Your dress is nice. You're so pretty. And sure, those words can make her smile, but they don't move her. They don't make her heart skip. They don't reach the place inside her that craves something deeper. Because deep down, a woman doesn't want to just be admired. She wants to be understood. She wants to feel like you see what no one else sees. That you're not just reacting to her surface. You're reaching into her essence. This is the difference between temporary interest and lasting emotional magnetism. When you speak to her surface, you play the game every man plays. But when you speak to her soul, you in the game, she stops comparing you. She stops overthinking. She starts feeling you. Because now it's not about words. It's about resonance. And resonance only happens when you speak from presence with intention into her truth, not your agenda. Now let's go deeper. What does every woman really want? She wants to be seen without being judged. She wants to be heard without being fixed. She wants to be valued without being possessed. She wants to feel like she can open the deepest, most chaotic, most beautiful parts of herself and that you can hold it, not solve it, not run from it, hold it. That is emotional strength. That's masculine depth. And that's what creates real intimacy, not just physical closeness, but soul alignment. Here's what most men missing women are: emotional beings, but they're not irrational. Their hearts are powerful, but they're constantly tested by a world that tells them to be smaller, quieter, easier to understand. When you come into her life and give her the space to expand, to be more, not less, something powerful awakens in her. She begins to trust, not just you, but herself around you. That's when the energy changes. That's when you move from being a guy she's talking to a man she can feel. And here's where it gets real when you speak to her core desires. You're not doing it to manipulate. You're doing it because you're tuned in, because you're not listening just to get something. You're listening to give something. Presence, clarity. Free to your energy becomes a mirror that reflects her beauty back to her in a way she forgot she needed. Not her physical beauty, but the power of who she is underneath all the noise. And the moment she feels that, she leans in emotionally, spiritually, physically, not because you forced it, but because you earned it with truth. So how do you do it? Start by listening to more than just her words. Pay attention to the pauses, the things she doesn't say, the way her tone shifts when she talks about something that or something that wounds her. Notice what she values, what makes her proud, what breaks her heart. When you reflect those things back to her, not as a tactic, but as a truth, you make her feel recognized. And recognition is rare. In a world full of noise, she's starving to be felt. Let me give you an example. Instead of saying, you look amazing, what if you said, when you talk about your dreams, your whole energy shifts. You light up the room. That's the most beautiful thing I've seen all day. Now, that's not a line. That's a reflection of something real. And it's unforgettable because it tells her, I see you. Not just your body, not just your smile. You. That's how you stand out, not by trying harder, but by feeling deeper. You don't need to be a psychologist. You just need care enough to listen. You don't need to solve her. You need to feel her, because when a woman feels felt, her whole nervous system responds. She relaxes. She trusts. She softens into the moment. And now you're not just talking. You're connecting. Now the conversation isn't just words. It's energy exchange. That's where the magic lives. Remember, this isn't about pleasing her. This is about honoring her. It's about stepping into your masculine role as a man who doesn't hide behind small talk, but leads with depth, presence, and truth. That's not only rare, it's irresistible. So stop aiming for surface level validation. Start offering soul level connection. Because when you speak to her core, you awaken the parts of her she forgot were alive. And that's when she remembers you, not just for what you said, but for how you made her feel. That is unforgettable. There's a reason most men never truly connect with a woman on a soul deep level. They're afraid to feel. They're afraid to open the doors to their own heart. They've been taught that emotions are weakness, that vulnerability is exposure, that showing feelings is dangerous. So they build walls, wear masks, and hide behind false confidence. But let me tell you something powerful. What you hide, she can't love. What you fear, you project. And the very thing you're running from, your emotions, is the exact thing that would unlock the deepest connection you'll ever know. Because true masculinity isn't about hiding your pain. It's about having the courage to stand in it. You want to know what no woman can resist. A man who is emotionally willy brave, a man who doesn't flinch when it gets real, a man who can sit in discomfort without trying to escape it, a man who can say, this is what I feel, this is who I am, and I'm not ashamed of it. That's rare. That's powerful. That's the kind of presence that feels like her if she can finally stop performing. Because when you show up fully, you give her permission to do the same. Emotional courage is not weakness. It is the strongest thing you will ever embody. Any fool can pretend to be tough. Any man can memorize strategies or pick up lines or techniques. But real strength, that's when you let her see your truth without apology. That's when you own your insecurity, fears, your past, not because you want sympathy, but because you're not defined by them. You've made peace with them. You've learned from them. And now through they are your power, not your prison. A woman doesn't want a man who's emotionally numb. She wants a man who's emotionally available. She wants to know that when life shakes, you don't run, you remain. That when she breaks, you don't panic, you breathe. That when things get vulnerable, you don't hide behind logic, you lead with heart. That doesn't mean you need to cry every time she does. It means you know how to hold space. It means you've trained yourself to meet emotion with presence, not avoidance. That you're not afraid to feel what's real. And here's where it gets real. Women can spot emotional fear from a mile away. They can tell when you're being polite but disconnected. They can feel when your smile is hiding something. They know when your silence is just fear in disguise. And when they sense that, they stop trusting. They may not even know why, but something in them closes. Something goes cold because you're not being fully there. You're not being fully honest. And that kind of presence, that's forgettable. But when you choose emotional courage, when you stand in the fire of vulnerability and stay grounded, she feels it. She sees it. She knows you're different. You're not here to impress. You're here to experience. You're not hiding the parts of yourself that are still growing. You're owning them. And that honesty creates instant trust. Trust is the oxygen of attraction. Without it, the connection suffocates. With it, it flourishes. You see, emotional courage is what makes love sustainable. Anyone can show up when it's easy. Anyone can say the right things when the energy is light. But what about when things get messy? What about when past pain shows up? About when she's feeling heavy, uncertain, scared? Will you disappear? Will you shut down? Or will you lean in? Will you say, I see you, I'm here, we'll breathe through this together? That kind of presence is everything. It turns chaos into intimacy, fear into safety, walls into windows. The truth is, emotional courage is the new superpower. It's the trait that turns boys into men and men into kings. Not the kind of kings who command through force, but the kind who lead through presence. And when you show up like that, not just saying the words, but embodying them, something rare happens. She softens. She listens differently. She respects you. She desires you. Not just because you're strong, but because your strength includes your heart. So stop running from your emotions. Stop numbing yourself to be accepted. Stop pretending that real connection can exist without real vulnerability. The moment you choose courage over comfort, presence over protection, truth over tactics, that's the moment she feels you. And once a woman truly feels you, not just your touch, but your truth, she will never forget you. That is how you become unforgettable, not by being perfect, not by being smooth, but by being brave enough to be real.